Imagine waking up one morning and looking in the mirror, but instead of criticizing yourself, you smile. Not because everything in your life is perfect, but because for the first time you truly see yourself. Not the flaws, not the mistakes, not the not enoughs, just you whole, imperfect, worthy and enough, exactly as you are. That moment, that quiet inner recognition is where self-love begins. And when self-love begins, confidence follows like sunlight breaking through clouds. In this audiobook, How to Practice Self-Love and Boost Your Confidence, we're going to walk a journey together from self-doubt to self-trust, from insecurity to inner power. This is not about ego, it's not about arrogance, it's about learning how to belong to yourself again, fully, deeply, unapologetically. So take a deep breath, because this journey isn't about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who you've always been. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Mirror Within. Look at your reflection, not the one in the mirror, but the one hidden beneath your skin, behind your eyes, deep within your soul. That quiet reflection that speaks in whispers when the world is loud. The one that says, I just want to feel enough. We've all stood there, staring at the mirror, picking ourselves apart, wishing we could change something. Our flaws feel louder than our strength. Our mistakes weigh heavier than our victory. And somewhere along the way, we start to believe the lies we tell ourselves, that we're not worthy, not beautiful, not deserving of love until we've fixed something first. But what if the real problem isn't what you see? It's how you see. Self-love begins with that question, because before you can love yourself, you have to truly meet yourself, without filters, without judgment, without running away. Take a breath. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine standing before a mirror that doesn't reflect your face, but your energy. What would it show? Would it be dimmed by self-doubt and comparison, or glowing quietly, waiting to be remembered? Here's the truth. No one else's reflection of you is more accurate than the one you carry within. The world can tell you who it thinks you are, but deep down you already know who you are meant to be. The challenge is, you've just forgotten to look inward. You weren't born with self-doubt, you learned it. You learned it from offhand comments, from comparisons, from a society that profits off your insecurity. And over time, those lessons became beliefs. You started to measure your worth by how others saw you, rather than how you saw yourself. But there's another truth waiting quietly inside you. You are not the sum of other people's opinion. You are not the mistakes you made when you didn't know better. You are not what happened to you, you are what you choose to become because of it. Self-love isn't arrogance, it's not standing on a pedestal. Standing on your own 2 feet and saying, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and that's enough for today. Every person you admire, every confident soul you've ever seen, they started where you are. Confused, insecure, unsure of how to love themselves in a world that constantly tells them they shouldn't. But one day, they made a choice. A small one. A decision to stop treating themselves like an enemy and start treating themselves like a friend. Maybe it began with a simple act, choosing rest over guilt, speaking kindly to themselves in the mirror, forgiving a past version of who they were. Those small moments, repeated, become the roots of transformation, because self-love isn't a single revelation, it's a daily practice. And like any practice, it begins with awareness. Awareness means noticing the voice in your mind. You know the one that tells you you're not doing enough, the one that compares you to everyone else, the one that never celebrates your progress, only points out what's missing. That voice doesn't speak truth, it speaks fear. And fear loves to disguise itself as logic. It says things like, you're just being realistic, when really it's trying to keep you small. It tells you to wait until you're ready, when what it means is, I'm scared you might fail. But here's the irony. You don't need to silence that voice to love yourself. You just need to stop letting it decide who you are. The more you listen to your authentic self, the one beneath the noise, the quieter that inner critic becomes. Loving yourself doesn't mean you'll always feel good about yourself. It means you'll keep showing up for yourself, even when you don't. Think of how you treat someone you love deeply. You forgive them, you cheer for them, you stand beside them when they fall. That's what self-love looks like. It's not self-indulgence, it's self-loyalty. There will be days when you stumble, when doubt crawls back in, when old wounds whisper your name. That's okay. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're human. What matters most is that you don't abandon yourself when things get hard. You don't walk away from the mirror when it shows you something uncomfortable. You stay, you breathe, you listen, because that's where growth begins, in the staying. Now, imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and decide to treat yourself with the same patience you give others. You look in the mirror, and instead of searching for what's wrong, you whisper, "I'm learning to love what's here." It feels awkward at first, like speaking a new language, but every time you do it, your mind starts to believe it a little more. And one day, it becomes natural. That's the quiet power of self-love. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it simply becomes who you are. You stop chasing validation because you realize you already have the one that matters most, your own. You stop waiting for permission to feel good about yourself because you finally understand no one else can give you what you've always had the power to give yourself. The first step to true confidence isn't found in achievement, approval, or applause. It's found in the moment you decide to stand beside yourself instead of against yourself. You can't build unshakable confidence on a foundation of self-rejection. You have to start with self-acceptance. Raw, honest, and unconditional. Confidence isn't the absence of insecurity. It's the decision to move forward despite it. It's whispering, "I'm scared, but I'll try anyway." When you choose yourself, again and again, you teach your soul that it can trust you, and that trust becomes the heartbeat of self-love. This is the beginning of your journey, not towards someone new, but towards someone true. Someone you've always been beneath the layers of fear and expectation. As we move forward together, we'll go deeper into the quiet battles within your mind, the habits that shape your confidence, and the courage to love yourself when it feels hardest. But for now, let this truth settle in your heart. You are not broken. You are becoming. The mirror within you is waiting to reflect, not your flaws but your light. And when you finally learn to see it, really see it, everything begins to change. Because this is where self-love truly starts. And in the next chapter, we'll step into the place where most of us get stuck, the voice in our head that tries to convince us we're not enough. It's time to meet that voice and take your power back. Chapter 2. The voice in your head. Have you ever noticed how loud your mind can get when the world goes quiet? When the lights dim, when the noise fades, and you're left alone with your thoughts, there it is. That familiar voice. The one that doesn't whisper kindness, but judgment. The one that replays old mistakes, questions your worth, and reminds you of everything you haven't done yet. It's strange, isn't it? We spend our entire lives with ourselves, and yet we often speak to ourselves in ways we would never speak to another person. We criticize, we compare, we condemn. And the cruelest part is that the voice sounds like us. That's why it's so powerful. Because when the voice inside your head tells you you're not enough, it doesn't sound like an insult. It sounds like truth. But it isn't. It's a memory, an echo of every doubt you've ever absorbed, every careless word that cut you, every time you believed that your value depended on your perfection. That voice isn't your enemy, but it also isn't your guide. It's a frightened part of you that's still trying to protect you from rejection, failure, and pain. Let's pause for a moment. Think about it. When did that voice first appear? It wasn't there when you were a child, running wild and free, laughing too loudly, dreaming without limits. You didn't question if you were enough back then. You just were. Then, little by little, someone told you to be quieter, to be smaller, to be more like someone else, and so you learned to trade your authenticity for acceptance. You learned to listen to that inner critic because it helped you survive. But survival is not the same as living. If you keep letting that voice define you, you'll live your whole life as a shadow, chasing approval, afraid of your own light, and the most tragic part, you'll never realize that the only voice that truly matters has been buried underneath all along. The voice of your higher self. The one that says, you are more than your fears, you are enough, even when you feel lost. Self-love begins when you start recognizing the difference between the critic and the truth-teller within you. One wants to control you, the other wants to free you. The critic speaks from fear. It says, don't try, you'll fail. Don't speak, they'll judge. Don't dream, you'll be disappointed. It promises safety, but it costs you your peace. The truth-teller, though quieter, speaks with love. It says, you can try again, you can begin anew, you can trust yourself. Its words don't always sound exciting, but they always feel right. The question is, which voice do you feed? Because every time you repeat the critic's words, you give it more power, and every time you choose to listen to the softer, gentler voice, even once, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. Let me tell you something deeply personal. Every person you've ever admired, every confident, radiant human you've seen, they all have that same inner critic. They've just learned to stop letting it drive. They hear the fear, acknowledge it, and move forward anyway. Confidence doesn't mean the voice disappears. It means you've learned to separate who you are from what your mind says. Imagine your inner critic as a radio station you didn't choose to tune into. You can't control that it's playing, but you can turn down the volume. You can decide, that's not my truth anymore. And with time, the static fades, and what's left is clarity. A voice that sounds like calm, like trust, like love. If you want to practice self-love, start by listening to how you talk to yourself when no one's watching. Would you speak those same words to a friend? Would you tell someone you love, you're failing, you're behind, you're not good enough? Of course not. You'd remind them how strong they are, how capable they've always been, how much they've already overcome. So why not speak that way to yourself? Why not treat your own heart with the same compassion you so freely give to others? You cannot build confidence from cruelty. You build it from care. One kind word, one gentle thought, one honest moment at a time. But let's be clear. Loving yourself doesn't mean ignoring your flaws. It means meeting them with understanding instead of judgment. It means saying, yes, I made mistakes, but I'm still learning. I'm still worthy. You see, that's what your inner critic fears most. Compassion. Because compassion dissolves its power. When you stop fighting yourself, the critic has nothing left to feed on. That's why awareness is everything. You don't have to banish the voice, you just have to recognize it when it speaks. When you hear you're not good enough, you can pause and answer, I hear you, but that's not who I am anymore. Simple, firm, kind. That's the language of self-love. Every great transformation begins in silence, in the still moments, when you notice how your mind treats you. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can repeat the same old story of unworthiness, or you can start writing a new one. A story where you are no longer the victim of your inner voice, but the author of it. Where you no longer live by fear's script, but by love's guidance. Because the truth is, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And once you realize that, the voice in your head loses its authority. You might be wondering, how do I begin to change this? It starts small. When you wake up in the morning, before you check your phone, whisper something kind to yourself. Something real. Like, I'm grateful for another day. or I'm proud of how I keep trying, or even just, I'm here. And that's enough. Those words seem small, but they're powerful, because every kind thought is a seed, and your mind is fertile soil. Plant enough of them, and you'll grow a new inner landscape, one filled with patience, courage, and quiet confidence. With time, you'll notice the change. You'll stop second-guessing yourself as much. You'll start moving through the world with gentler eyes. And most importantly, you'll begin to trust yourself again. That trust, that's the foundation of true confidence. So the next time the voice in your head tells you that you can't, that you're not ready, that you don't deserve it, stop, smile softly, and answer, "Thank you for your concern, but I'm doing it anyway." That's how you take your power back, not by fighting the voice, but by choosing which one you follow. Because deep within you there's another voice, quiet, wise, patient. It doesn't shout, it doesn't beg to be heard, but when you finally listen, it feels like peace. It feels like coming home. That's the real you, the one beneath the noise, the one that's been waiting all along for you to remember your own strength. And as you begin to hear that voice more clearly, something miraculous happens. You stop trying to prove your worth, and you start living it. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it means to protect that inner voice, to create boundaries that honor your peace and preserve your energy. Because self-love isn't just about how you talk to yourself, it's also about how you teach the world to treat you. Let's step into that together. Chapter 3. The Power of Saying No. There's a quiet kind of strength that doesn't come from lifting weights or winning arguments. It comes from the simple, powerful word no. Not the bitter, defensive kind, not the angry, rebellious kind, but the kind of no that comes from self-respect, the kind that says, "I love you, but I love myself too." Think about it. How many times in your life have you said yes when every part of you was begging to say no? How many times have you smiled when you were exhausted, agreed when you were uncomfortable, or helped others while quietly betraying your own peace? You didn't do it because you're weak. You did it because you care, because you were raised to be kind, to be helpful, to be good. But somewhere along the way you forgot something vital. Kindness that costs you your peace is no longer kindness, it's self-abandonment. And self-love cannot grow in the soil of self-abandonment. When you say yes to everyone and everything, what's left for you? Every yes you give out of guilt or fear takes energy from your soul. It's like pouring from a cup that never gets refilled. Eventually the cup runs dry, and so do you. Then one day you wake up tired, not just physically tired, but emotionally empty. You can't explain it. You're doing all the right things, but you feel disconnected from yourself, restless, irritated, unseen. That's not laziness or burnout. That's your soul whispering, "I need you to choose me again." Saying no isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's choosing alignment over approval, truth over tolerance, authenticity over obligation. You see, when you constantly try to please everyone, you start disappearing in the process. You blend in, you lose your edges, and eventually you don't even recognize your own reflection. But every time you say no with honesty and grace, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You remind your inner voice, "I matter, my time matters, my energy matters." That's not selfish, that's sacred. Let's be honest, saying no feels uncomfortable. It stirs guilt, fear, even shame, because from a young age, many of us were taught that love must always be accommodating. We learned to equate being needed with being worthy, so we overgive, overextend, overcommit, and then wonder why we feel so resentful when no one seems to notice. Here's the truth most people don't tell you. You teach the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. When you set no boundaries, you silently give others permission to cross them. When you keep saying yes out of fear, you teach others that your comfort is negotiable. And when you finally say no, not from anger but from clarity, you show them that your love has limits. Healthy ones, real ones. Let me share something deeply human. There will be people who don't understand your no. They'll call you distant, difficult, or selfish. But listen, their reaction isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of what your boundaries reveal in them. When you stop overgiving, you stop feeding the parts of others that depend on your silence. And while that might cost you some connections, it will strengthen the ones meant to stay, because real love doesn't require you to shrink. It celebrates your growth. So how do you start saying no when you've spent your life saying yes? Start small. The next time someone asks for your time, pause. Ask yourself, do I really have the space for this? Do I genuinely want to? If the answer is no, speak it softly but firmly. You don't owe anyone an essay. You don't need to justify your boundaries. A simple, I can't right now, or that doesn't work for me, is enough. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to choose peace over people-pleasing. And you are allowed to walk away from what doesn't nourish you. Each no creates room for the yes that truly matters. The yes that comes from passion, alignment, and joy. The yes that feels light, not heavy. The yes that moves you closer to your truth. You see, confidence isn't just about believing in yourself. It's about backing yourself up, even when it's uncomfortable, even when others don't understand, even when you stand alone. True confidence whispers, I can disappoint someone else without betraying myself. That's the quiet power of self-love, the courage to choose authenticity over acceptance. And it's not about cutting people out or building walls. It's about creating a gate, one you control, where love and respect must knock before entering. If you struggle with guilt, remember this, you are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can be loving and still say no. You can care deeply without carrying the world on your back. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you're saying yes to something that sustains you. Rest, clarity, joy, freedom, those aren't luxuries, they are necessities, and they're the foundation of genuine confidence. Because confidence isn't built in front of others, it's built in the quiet moments when you choose yourself, even when no one's watching. So the next time life asks more of you than you can give, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, is this a real yes or a yes born from fear of saying no? If it's fear, let it go. You do not owe anyone your exhaustion. You do not have to explain your peace, and you do not need permission to protect your energy. When you learn to say no without guilt, you give yourself something priceless, the freedom to say yes with your whole heart. The power of no isn't about shutting doors. It's about opening the right ones, the ones that lead to peace, purpose, and authenticity. It's how you stop living on everyone else's terms and start living on your own. And that, my friend, is where self-respect is born. Because self-love without boundaries is like a garden without a fence, beautiful for a while, but easily trampled. Boundaries protect your beauty. They give your love a home. As we step forward, remember, every no you speak from love brings you closer to the life you're meant to live, a life that's not built on guilt or approval, but on choice, your choice. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when you turn your no inward, when you finally stop fighting your past and begin the process of true healing. Because before you can grow into the future, you must first make peace with where you've been. Let's walk there together.
Chapter 4. Healing the wounds you don't talk about. There are wounds you can't see. They don't bleed, but they ache. They don't leave scars on your skin, but they leave echoes in your soul. We all carry them, the heartbreaks that changed us, the betrayals that hardened us, the quiet disappointments we never told anyone about. And while time passes, those wounds don't always disappear. They hide. They wait, and when life slows down, when the noise fades and you're finally alone with your thoughts, they whisper, I'm still here. Healing doesn't begin when you forget the past. It begins when you face it, with honesty, compassion, and courage. Because what you don't heal, you repeat, and what you avoid, you carry. Think about this. How many times have you said, I'm fine, when you weren't? How many times have you smiled just to hide the storm inside you? We've all done it. We've all worn masks to make others comfortable. Masks of strength, masks of peace, masks of control. But here's the truth. Pretending to be unbroken doesn't make you whole. Real healing starts when you stop performing and start feeling. You can't heal from what you refuse to feel. Pain ignored becomes pain stored. And that buried emotion, the one you've been running from, eventually becomes the invisible wall between who you are and who you could be. So let's talk about what healing really is. It's not about erasing the memory or pretending it never happened. Healing is the process of making peace with your story, all of it. It's looking at the moments that hurt you and saying, you may have shaped me, but you don't define me. Healing is messy. It's not linear. Some days you'll feel strong and free. Other days you'll feel like you're back at the beginning. But even those steps backward are part of the journey forward, because healing isn't perfection, it's progress. Let me share something with you. Pain is not your enemy, it's your messenger. It arrives not to punish, but to teach. It shows you where you've been avoiding truth, where you've given too much, where you've lost yourself. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Because every pain carries wisdom inside it, if you're brave enough to listen. Sometimes that lesson is patience, sometimes it's boundaries, sometimes it's forgiveness, not for others, but for yourself. You might be holding on to things that no longer belong in your heart. Resentment, guilt, regret. They weigh you down like stones in a backpack you've forgotten you're carrying. You've grown so used to the heaviness that you've mistaken it for normal. But the truth is, you were never meant to carry it forever. Forgiveness is the act of putting the stones down, not because they didn't matter, but because you finally do. Forgiveness doesn't mean you excuse the past. It means you refuse to let the past control the rest of your life. You cannot heal in the same environment that broke you, especially if that environment still lives in your mind. Healing also requires self-compassion, the courage to give yourself the grace you so easily give others. You've done the best you could with what you knew at the time. You survived things you never thought you'd get through. You kept going, even when no one saw your quiet battle. That's not weakness, that's strength, the kind of strength that doesn't make headlines but changes lives, the kind of strength that builds character, empathy, and depth. So stop judging yourself for how long it's taking. Healing doesn't have a deadline. It takes as long as it takes. There's something else I want you to remember. Not everyone will understand your healing. Some people will prefer the version of you who stayed small, who didn't speak up, who didn't change. But growth always disrupts comfort, both yours and theirs. And that's okay. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your peace. Healing will sometimes mean outgrowing people, places, and patterns that once felt like home. It will mean setting boundaries you never had the strength to set before. It will mean saying, I love you, but I need to love myself more. That's not selfish. That's sacred evolution. And maybe right now you're in that uncomfortable middle, no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. That space feels uncertain. It's quiet, lonely, but that's where transformation lives, in the silence, in the stillness, in the space between old wounds and new wisdom. Don't rush that stage. It's not the end of your story, it's the rewriting of it. Every scar you carry is proof that you've healed before. You've been through nights you thought would never end, and yet here you are, still breathing, still trying, still believing that something better is possible. That's what healing looks like. Not perfect, but present. The truth is, healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments, small, ordinary moments that you barely notice. It happens when you forgive yourself for the first time, when you finally stop apologizing for being too much or too quiet, when you choose rest over guilt, when you allow joy to return without questioning if you deserve it. That's healing. That's freedom. So take a deep breath. You are not broken. You are rebuilding. And there's a quiet power in that, in choosing to face the pain, not to relive it, but to release it. The wound was never your fault, but the healing, that's your responsibility, not as a burden, but as a gift, because you deserve to experience life unfiltered by the past. You deserve peace that doesn't depend on forgetting. You deserve to wake up one day and realize you made it through, not untouched, but transformed. As we move forward, I want you to carry this truth with you. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to forget. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it means to rebuild from that healed space, how to transform pain into purpose, fear into fuel, and wounds into wisdom. Because healing is only the beginning. Becoming, that's where the magic begins.
Chapter 5. Rebuilding your confidence from the inside out. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't shout to be seen. It doesn't demand attention or validation. True confidence is quiet. It's steady. It's the calm knowing that no matter what happens, you can handle it. But here's the truth that most people never say out loud. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build piece by piece, choice by choice, through every challenge life throws your way. And sometimes it's something you have to rebuild, especially after life has broken your trust in yourself. Maybe you've been through something that made you doubt your worth, a failure that stung, a heartbreak that left you questioning everything, or a season where nothing seemed to work no matter how hard you tried. When that happens, confidence doesn't vanish overnight. It slowly fades. It slips away each time you silence your own voice. Each time you compare your journey to someone else's. Each time you forget that your value was never tied to achievement or approval. And that's where the rebuilding begins. Not in proving anything to the world, but in remembering who you were before you started doubting yourself. Rebuilding confidence isn't about pretending to be fearless. It's about being brave enough to take small steps, even when fear is still whispering in your ear. Confidence grows in action, not in waiting. It comes from doing the thing you didn't think you could do, even if your hands are shaking while you do it. It comes from honoring the promises you make to yourself, no matter how small they seem. Because every time you follow through, you send a message to your mind that says, I can trust myself again. And that trust, that's where real confidence begins. Let's be honest, we live in a world that confuses confidence with performance. We're taught that to be confident we must look perfect, speak perfectly, succeed perfectly. But confidence isn't perfection, it's self-acceptance. It's looking in the mirror and saying, I'm enough, even while I'm still growing. It's walking into a room without needing to shrink or overcompensate. It's knowing that your presence alone carries worth, not because of what you've achieved, but because of who you are when no one's watching. When you anchor your confidence in image, it crumbles. When you anchor it in truth, it becomes unshakable. Here's something to remember. Confidence doesn't mean you'll never doubt yourself again. It means you no longer let doubt control your direction. You can still feel nervous and step forward anyway. You can still feel unsure and speak up anyway. You can still fail and know deep down that failure doesn't define you. Confidence isn't about removing fear. It's about refusing to let fear have the final say. Think back to a time when you were younger, before the world told you who you should be. Back then, you didn't question your worth. You didn't need to be perfect to feel proud of yourself. You simply were. That's the essence of self-love and confidence. Not becoming something new, but returning to that unfiltered version of yourself, who believed, I am enough exactly as I am. Somewhere along the way, life taught you to doubt that, but now you're here, unlearning the noise, and remembering the truth that never left you. Let me tell you something powerful. Confidence isn't built in comfort. It's built in the moments when everything inside you says, I can't, and you do it anyway. It's built in rejection that doesn't break you but refines you. It's built in the quiet decision to keep showing up for yourself, even when no one's clapping. Confidence is earned through self-respect, through boundaries, through honesty, through the discipline of not abandoning yourself for approval. When you stop betraying your own needs, your confidence starts to return home. There will be days when you don't feel strong, when self-doubt creeps in and whispers, who do you think you are? In those moments, remind yourself, confidence isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You decide to believe in your own ability to grow. You decide to speak kindly to yourself,
Even when your mind is filled with doubt, you decide that your worth is not a debate, and every time you make that decision, even quietly, even imperfectly, you're rebuilding something sacred within you. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are simply in the process of remembering your own power. The version of you that once felt unstoppable, they still live inside you. Maybe they've been silent for a while, buried under fear and uncertainty, but they're still there waiting for you to choose them again. So choose yourself, choose the voice that says, I'm capable, choose the belief that says, I am enough right now, as I am. That's not arrogance, that's truth. Confidence built from within can't be taken away by loss, by rejection, or by anyone else's opinion. It's the kind of strength that stands steady when everything else shakes. Because it's not rooted in what you have, it's rooted in who you've become. And who you've become is someone stronger than you realize, wiser than you think, and more resilient than you've ever given yourself credit for. So take a breath and remind yourself, rebuilding confidence is not about becoming a different person. It's about meeting yourself again after everything tried to make you forget your worth. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to protect that inner power, how to set boundaries, nurture your energy, and keep your confidence alive in a world that often tries to dim. Because once you've rebuilt your confidence from within, the next step is learning how to keep it unshakable. Chapter 6. The Power of Letting Go. There's a strange kind of peace that comes the moment you stop fighting for what was never meant to stay. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, like the calm after a long storm, when you finally realize that holding on doesn't fix what's broken, it just delays your healing. We live in a world that glorifies control. We're told to fight for everything, relationships, careers, dreams, people, as if surrender means failure. But here's the truth few people ever speak. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to let go. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you choose peace over chaos. It means you stop begging for what drains your soul. It means you trust that what's meant for you will find you even if it takes time. Think about how often we cling to things that no longer serve us. The job that suffocates our creativity, the relationship that dims our light, the guilt from choices we made years ago. We hold on because we fear the emptiness that follows release. But that emptiness isn't punishment. It's space being cleared for something new. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack full of stones. Each stone represents a regret, a disappointment, a version of yourself that you refuse to put down. You walk through life wondering why you feel exhausted. You try to run, to grow, to reach higher, but that weight keeps pulling you back. And one day, you realize it's not life holding you down. It's your unwillingness to let go of what's behind you. We all have that moment, that breaking point where we're forced to choose. Do we cling to what's familiar, even if it hurts? Or do we release it and trust the unknown? The unknown is terrifying, yes, but it's also where every beautiful beginning hides. Letting go is not a single act, it's a process. It begins with acceptance that some chapters end, not because you failed, but because they were never meant to last forever. People outgrow each other, paths shift, seasons change, and that's not tragedy. That's evolution. There's a story I once heard about a bird who refused to leave its cage, even after the door was left open. It had spent so long believing freedom was impossible that it forgot how to fly. Many of us are that bird, trapped not by our circumstances, but by our comfort with captivity. The cage feels safe, but safety can be a silent prison. So how do you let go? You start small. You forgive the past, even when it doesn't apologize. You stop replaying the same painful memories that serve no purpose. You stop trying to rewrite endings that were never yours to control. You breathe deeply, intentionally, and allow yourself to feel the discomfort of release. Because letting go hurts before it heals, it stings before it soothes. But every time you choose release over resistance, you reclaim your freedom. Here's something most people don't realize. Holding on doesn't keep things the same. It just prevents you from growing. And the longer you grip what's fading, the harder it becomes to receive what's waiting. Life rewards the open hand, not the closed fist. Sometimes you have to walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because staying costs too much of your peace. Sometimes closure isn't about getting answers, it's about creating your own ending. And sometimes the healing begins when you stop waiting for the apology that will never come. When you let go, you create space, and life fills that space with new experiences, new connections, and new strength. It's not instant. You'll miss the things you release. You'll question your decision. You'll feel the ache of absence before you feel the peace of freedom. But one day, you'll wake up lighter. You'll look back and realize that what you lost wasn't a part of your story. It was a chapter that had to end so the real story could begin. Letting go doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. It turns pain into wisdom. It transforms endings into beginnings. It teaches you that closure isn't something you find, it's something you create. Remember this, nothing truly meant for you will ever require you to betray yourself to keep it. If it asks you to dim your light, lose your joy, or abandon your truth, it's not meant for your path. Letting it go isn't failure, it's alignment. So take a deep breath. Think of the thing you've been holding on to, the story, the person, the fear, the guilt. Now imagine setting it down gently. You don't need to throw it away in anger or run from it in shame. Just release it. Whisper to yourself, it's time. Because it is, and when you do, you'll discover something beautiful. The world doesn't end when you let go, it begins again. And this time it begins with you. You are not your past, you are not your losses, you are the person brave enough to begin again. In the next chapter, we'll explore that moment, the rebirth that follows release. Because after you let go, there's a silence that arrives, and within that silence, a new voice begins to whisper, the voice of your true self, waiting to be heard. Chapter 7. The Rebirth. Becoming who you're meant to be. There comes a moment in every person's life when silence feels louder than noise. It's the space after the storm, when the dust settles and you're left standing, unsure of what comes next. The past has fallen away. The old version of you no longer fits, and yet the new version hasn't fully arrived. It's uncomfortable, it's uncertain, but it's also sacred, because in that quiet in-between, you are being reborn. Rebirth isn't about starting over, it's about starting truer. It's not the destruction of who you were, it's the revelation of who you really are beneath everything you thought you had to be. For years you may have worn masks, trying to please, to prove, to belong. You may have silenced your truth just to keep the peace, or carried identities that weren't yours simply to be accepted. But now you stand at a different kind of edge, not of breaking, but of becoming. This is the moment when the old you whispers goodbye, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because even the versions of you that struggled, doubted, and stumbled brought you here. They did their job. And now it's time to evolve. Becoming who you're meant to be doesn't happen in a single leap. It unfolds slowly. One decision, one boundary, one act of courage at a time. You start saying no to what drains you. You start saying yes to what lights you up. You stop chasing what isn't aligned, and you begin attracting what resonates with your soul. This is how rebirth begins. Not in grand gestures, but in quiet acts of truth. Think of a seed buried beneath the soil. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, transformation is taking place. The shell is cracking. The roots are reaching, and eventually something beautiful breaks through. Not because it fought the darkness, but because it used it. The darkness became the birthplace of growth. And so it is with you. You see, we're often so eager to escape the dark seasons that we miss what they're teaching us. But rebirth doesn't happen in the light. It begins in the depths of your own surrender. You have to lose what isn't real to find what is. You have to feel lost to remember that you were never truly missing. You may not recognize yourself right now, and that's okay. It means you're growing beyond the identity that once defined you. It means you're shedding the expectations, the fears, the smallness that once confined you. Every ending you've endured, every loss you've survived, it wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you for this exact moment. The moment you stop asking, "Who was I?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming?" The truth is, rebirth demands courage, because it asks you to step into the unknown with nothing but faith in yourself. You won't have all the answers, you won't always feel ready. But the point of transformation isn't certainty, it's trust. Trust that your intuition knows the way. Trust that the universe, life, or whatever name you give it, has a plan that's bigger than your fear. This is the season to honor your own becoming, to walk slower, to breathe deeper, to listen more to the voice within than the noise around you. That voice, the quiet, steady one that speaks through your chest, not your head, that's your truth. And it's been waiting for you to finally listen. You'll notice that when you start honoring your truth, your world changes. The right people begin to find you. Opportunities that once felt impossible start to appear. You stop chasing what was never meant for you, and instead, what's meant for you starts chasing you. That's the beauty of alignment. It doesn't require force, it flows. But don't mistake rebirth for perfection. You will still stumble. You will still question. There will be days when the old wounds resurface, when doubt tries to creep back in. That's part of it. Every new version of you will be tested, not to punish you, but to prove your growth. To remind you that this time you can stand tall in the storm without losing yourself in it. Rebirth is messy. It's not all light and clarity. Sometimes it's tears in the middle of the night. Sometimes it's walking away from everything familiar, just to find peace. Sometimes it's loneliness that teaches you how to love yourself better. But each moment, no matter how painful, is sacred, because every tear waters the soil of your becoming. And one day, you'll look back and realize you didn't rebuild your life, you reclaimed it. You stopped trying to become someone new, and instead remembered who you were all along. That's the essence of rebirth, remembering what your soul always knew. You are not broken. You are unfolding. You are learning to see yourself, not as the world told you to be, but as you truly are, whole, worthy, enough. So breathe. This is your new beginning. You've earned it through every sleepless night, every lesson, every silent act of courage. You don't have to rush this stage. Becoming takes time. Let it unfold. Let it surprise you. Let it shape you into something even more real. Because when you rise again, and you will, you won't rise as who you were. You'll rise as who you were always meant to be. And in the next chapter, we'll step deeper into that awakening, into the art of living fully aligned with your truth. Because rebirth isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a life that finally feels like your own.
Chapter 8. The Art of Living in Alignment. There comes a moment after awakening when you realize peace isn't something to chase, it's something you live, not in some distant, ideal version of life, but right here in the breath you're taking right now. Alignment begins the moment you stop fighting who you are. Most people live their entire lives out of tune, doing what's set, saying what's safe, chasing what looks successful. But deep down, something always feels off, like a beautiful song played on the wrong key. It's not that life is wrong, it's that you're out of rhythm with your own truth. And that dissonance creates stress, emptiness, and the quiet ache of something's missing. Living in alignment means returning to your natural rhythm. It's when your choices, your words, and your energy all move in the same direction, the direction of authenticity. You stop pretending, you stop forcing, you stop apologizing for your own frequency. And for the first time, life starts to flow. But let's be honest, alignment is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice, a continual coming home to yourself. It's choosing truth over comfort, clarity over confusion, soul over ego, even when it's inconvenient. Especially when it's inconvenient. You'll know you're living out of alignment when everything feels like a struggle, when you're exhausted from trying to be what you're not, when the things that used to excite you now drain you. Those are not failures, they're signals, whispers from your inner compass saying, this isn't your path anymore. The key is to listen, because the universe always sends warnings before it sends wake-up calls. The whispers turn to frustration, frustration turns to breakdown, and eventually, if you keep ignoring the truth, life will shake you awake, not to punish you, but to free you. Alignment asks for honesty, raw, uncomfortable honesty. It means asking yourself questions that cut through illusions. What am I really afraid of losing? Who am I trying to impress? What would I choose if no one else's opinion mattered? The answers to those questions often reveal what you've been avoiding and what you've been missing. Living in alignment doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It means you move with integrity, even when things are hard. It's the peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you're living in truth. And that kind of peace, no amount of money, status, or validation can buy. Think of it like walking through a forest. When you're out of alignment, you're constantly tripping over roots, getting lost in the branches, second-guessing every step. But when you're in alignment, you still walk the same forest. You just move with awareness. You notice the path beneath your feet. You trust where it leads. And even when you don't see the end, you know you're going the right way. Alignment also means honoring your energy. You begin to understand that not everything deserves your attention. You stop forcing connections that no longer fit and release environments that drain your spirit. It's not selfish, it's sacred, because every time you choose peace over chaos, truth over performance, you strengthen your connection with your higher self. And from that alignment, new doors open effortlessly. The people who match your energy, the opportunities that once felt far away begin to unfold naturally, because when you stop resisting who you are, you magnetize everything that resonates with your truth. That's not luck, that's alignment doing its quiet, powerful work. But here's the paradox. Living in alignment often requires walking alone for a while. You might outgrow relationships, habits, or identities that once felt essential. It's not that you're better than anyone, it's that you're becoming clearer. And clarity has a cost, but it also brings liberation. Because when you stop shrinking to fit where you no longer belong, you finally have room to expand into who you were meant to be. Alignment is freedom, but it's also responsibility. It demands that you take ownership of your choices. No more blaming, no more waiting for someone else to fix things. You are the architect now. Your life becomes a reflection of your inner landscape, not your circumstances, but your consciousness. So if you want more peace, cultivate it within. If you want more joy, honor what brings it alive in you. If you want truth, live it out loud. This is the sacred rhythm of life. What you align with within, you attract without. And when your outer world begins to mirror your inner harmony, that's when you know you're walking in truth. The stress fades, the fear softens, and what's left is clarity, the quiet confidence of someone who finally feels at home in their own soul. Remember, alignment doesn't mean perfection, it means integrity. It means showing up honestly, messy, human, evolving, but never pretending. It means being real, even when it's uncomfortable, because authenticity is not about being flawless, it's about being whole. So take a moment right now,
Breathe in deeply. Ask yourself, where in my life am I forcing what should flow? Where am I dimming my truth, just to keep the peace? Your answers will point the way. And the beauty is, the moment you recognize what's out of alignment, you already begin to return to balance. Living in alignment isn't a destination, it's a rhythm. Some days you'll feel perfectly attuned, other days you'll slip out of tune. But every moment is an invitation to realign, to pause, reflect, and choose again. And that's where your power truly lies, because the more aligned you become, the lighter you feel. The lighter you feel, the freer you move, and the freer you move, the more life starts to unfold as it was always meant to, naturally, beautifully, in rhythm with your soul. So as we move into the next chapter, remember this truth. You are not meant to struggle your way through life. You are meant to align with it, to dance with it, to live in harmony with who you truly are. And when you do, every step forward begins to feel like coming home. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to sustain that harmony, how to protect your peace and nurture your energy, even in a world that constantly tries to pull you away from yourself. Because alignment isn't just about finding peace. It's about keeping it and living from it every single day. Chapter 9. Nurturing your energy. Protecting your peace. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to feel drained, even when nothing seems wrong? You wake up with hope in your heart, intention on your lips, and by midday, your energy feels like water slipping through your fingers. The world has a way of demanding pieces of you, your attention, your patience, your compassion, often without asking permission. And if you're not careful, you give so much that you forget who you are, until there's almost nothing left for yourself. This chapter is about reclaiming that energy, about learning to nurture yourself so deeply that external chaos no longer controls your inner state. Because self-love isn't just about what you feel in quiet moments, it's also about how you protect your vitality in the storm. Think of your energy like sunlight. When the sun is unobstructed, it illuminates everything around it. But if clouds constantly cover it, or if you spend your days under walls that block its light, even the brightest sun eventually fades. Your energy behaves the same way, without care and protection. It diminishes, and with it your capacity to show up fully in life. So how do you nurture your energy? First, by recognizing what drains you. Not every obligation deserves your full attention. Not every person deserves your presence. Some conversations, some environments, some relationships, they are like leeches on the soul. They teach you empathy, patience, or resilience. Yes, but they are not your source of light. Begin with boundaries. Boundaries are not walls of separation. They are lines of respect drawn in the sand. They tell the world, and most importantly yourself, that your energy is precious. When you learn to say no without guilt, when you allow yourself to step back from toxicity, your energy begins to return, and with it, your peace. The second way to nurture energy is through mindful replenishment. Notice how quickly your spirit responds to stillness, a walk in nature, sitting with a book that lifts your heart, meditation, prayer, reflection, journaling, even simple breathing exercises. These are not indulgences, they are essentials, because when you feed your soul, your energy radiates outward naturally. And here's the critical part. Nurturing energy isn't about avoiding life. It's about engaging in it from a place of fullness, not depletion. It's about choosing experiences, people, and work that lift you instead of pull you down. It's about surrounding yourself with environments that feel expansive, not suffocating. It's about recognizing that what you put in your mind and heart shapes your vibration more than you realize. Energy is also nurtured by alignment with your values. When your actions match your beliefs, your spirit feels lighter. When you compromise your truth for approval, you carry invisible weight. Living in alignment isn't just a mental exercise, it's a spiritual act. Every choice you make to honor your truth strengthens your energy. Every compromise weakens it. You may have noticed that certain people leave you feeling refreshed, while others leave you exhausted. That's no accident. We are energetic beings. We absorb and mirror the energy of those around us. Protecting your peace means choosing relationships wisely. It means giving your presence to those who respect it and withdrawing from those who diminish it. This isn't selfish, it's survival. It's how you ensure your light remains undimmed. Let's talk about habit. Your daily routines either feed your vitality or drain it. A rushed morning, constant scrolling on social media, late nights filled with worry. These small choices accumulate like interest on a loan. Conversely, a morning ritual that centers you, a moment to reflect and set intention, quality sleep and conscious nutrition, these are deposits into your energy account. Over time, the balance becomes profound. You wake with focus, clarity and resilience, even in the face of stress. And finally, nurturing energy is about self-compassion. It's allowing yourself to feel without judgment, to rest when needed, to forgive when you fail, to honor your limitations as well as your strengths. Your energy is not infinite, it is sacred. Treat it as such. When you cultivate and protect your energy, something miraculous happens. You become less reactive, you become more present, you start living life with intention rather than obligation. You find joy in small moments because your soul has room to receive it. You radiate calm confidence because you are rooted in your own power. And here's the ultimate truth. Your peace is your power. It is the quiet core from which love, creativity and resilience flow. If you lose it to external demands, you lose your ability to live fully. But when you protect it, you live as an unshakable force, capable of facing life with grace, clarity and courage. So today, consider this your call to action. Look around and ask, what is draining my energy? Who or what is dimming my light? What daily practices can I adopt to replenish and protect myself? And most importantly, do I have the courage to honor my own needs before the world dictates them? Because nurturing your energy is the ultimate form of self-love. It's a declaration. I matter. My peace matters. My vitality matters. And when you make that declaration, consistently and unapologetically, everything changes. In the next chapter, we will bring all these lessons together: self-love, alignment, rebirth, and energy, into a life of empowered confidence. Because once you've cultivated your inner sanctuary, protected your peace, and learned to live in harmony with your truth, confidence becomes inevitable. And that confidence, quiet, steady, unshakable, will carry you into every chapter of the life you are meant to create. Chapter 10. Embodying confidence. Living as your highest self. Imagine waking up tomorrow, feeling completely at home in your own skin. Not because the world applauds you, not because you've checked every box or achieved every goal, but because you have finally accepted yourself fully. This is not a fleeting feeling. It is not a mask you put on to impress others. It is confidence born from knowing who you are and standing tall in that truth. Confidence is not arrogance. It is not loud or demanding. True confidence is quiet, steady, and unshakable. It comes from years of practice, self-reflection, alignment, and self-love. It is the natural byproduct of living authentically, nurturing your energy, and reclaiming your power. The first step to embodying confidence is ownership, owning your choices, your emotions, your body, and your voice. Nothing external defines you, only your response to life does. When you embrace that responsibility, you stop waiting for validation and start trusting yourself. You begin to speak your truth without hesitation, act on your intuition without fear, and move through the world without apology. Next comes courage. Confidence demands courage because it often requires stepping into the unknown. It means making decisions that others might not understand. It means following a path that feels right for you, even if it contradicts the expectations of family, society, or culture. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of it. And every time you choose courage, your confidence grows stronger, more rooted, more alive. But confidence is also compassionate. It is not just about showing up for yourself. It is about showing up fully for others too. It means offering your presence, your support, your love, without losing yourself in the process. True confidence allows you to be generous because it is grounded in abundance. It does not seek to control, dominate, or compete. It simply exists, powerful and serene, in its own right. Another essential aspect of confidence is clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you want, and what you will no longer tolerate. When your mind is clear, your actions are precise. When your boundaries are clear, your energy remains protected. And when your vision is clear, nothing can shake your focus. Clarity is the lens through which confidence sharpens into purpose. Confidence is also built through practice. Daily, intentional practice. It is cultivated in small victories, speaking up when it's hard, setting boundaries when it's uncomfortable, honoring your needs when it feels selfish. Each choice, each action adds weight to the foundation of your inner power. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. The world may still challenge you, life may still test you, but your confidence becomes a lighthouse, unwavering, guiding you through storms with calm certainty. Let's talk about self-image. Many people confuse confidence with appearance, performance, or status, but the deepest confidence comes from within. It is a reflection of the respect, love, and trust you hold for yourself. It is visible not because of what you wear or what you achieve, but because of how you carry yourself. Posture, tone, gaze, and presence. These are the outward expressions of inner certainty. When you honor yourself, your energy radiates authenticity. Others feel it, they are drawn to it, and that magnetism is born from truth, not pretense. Confidence also thrives in the soil of resilience. Life will challenge you. There is no avoiding that. Failures, setbacks, heartbreak, and rejection are inevitable, but your response determines whether those experiences diminish you or empower you. Resilience allows you to stand tall after falling, to rise with grace, and to carry the wisdom of struggle as armor, not baggage. Every challenge you overcome reinforces your confidence because it proves to yourself, again and again, that you are capable. And finally, confidence is freedom. Freedom to pursue your dreams without hesitation. Freedom to love without fear. Freedom to express yourself fully, creatively, and honestly. Freedom to step into your life as your highest self, a person who no longer seeks permission, validation, or approval. When confidence is internalized, it liberates every aspect of your existence. Now take a moment and consider your journey from where we began, the first awareness of your thoughts, the practice of self-love, the courage to embrace authenticity, the alignment with your truth, the nurturing of your energy. Every step has led to this moment, the ability to stand in your own power. Confidence is not a distant goal. It is the natural outcome of living fully, intentionally, and with love for yourself. So what does it look like to embody this confidence? Starting today, it means choosing honesty over convenience. It means speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes. It means setting boundaries with kindness, but firmness. It means engaging with the world fully, yet resting when your soul needs it. It means trusting that the more aligned you are with your truth, the more unstoppable you become. Remember this. Confidence is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about showing up authentically in every situation. It is about honoring your journey, your experiences, and your growth. And it is about stepping into your life as the person you were always meant to be, courageous, aligned, resilient. As we close this journey together, know this: self-love, alignment, energy, and courage are not separate paths. They are threads woven together to create the tapestry of your empowered life. And when you step into this tapestry fully, confidence ceases to be a concept. It becomes a lived experience. Go forward with this truth. In your heart, you are enough. You are capable. You are worthy. And every day, as you honor yourself, you will grow into a version of you that shines with quiet, unstoppable confidence. This is your life, your voice, your power, and the world awaits your brilliance.